Thank you for coming out here for this briefing in such a short time. But we feel that the issues that we want to talk about today are time sensitive. You know, all of us faced a Category 4 hurricane, and we faced it eye to eye, and we came through it. And there was a lot of challenges. But we also know that after a hurricane, there are more challenges that we have to face. Certainly, we here in Ascension Parish, we are without electricity and more than well more than 65–70% of our parish. Our West Bank is 100% out. And we're working through those challenges. I can't tell you how grateful we are and how grateful we should be because of the fact that we did better than most. I actually thought this storm was going to be worse for Ascension Parish, but we were spared in many ways. All of our neighbors to the south, after speaking to some of them sheriffs down there, they're just devastated. So Ascension Parish may become the last stopping point for refueling, getting supplies to help bring those down south. Today, I'm usually a very optimistic sheriff. Today is the first time I sense some frustration because there are answers that we can't get. And as most of you know, most of you have been riding around, you've been doing your own assessments throughout the parishes. And we're having trouble with fuel, getting fuel for our parishes. I know down south it is devastated, but even here in Ascension Parish, we just can't get the answers. And there are long lines at these fuel stations. I just had our distributor drop off their last load of fuel to the Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office 911 Center. Now, I do not want to alarm the public. If we have to drive to Houston to get fuel, we're going to get fuel, and our 911 center will stay up and running. Our police units will have fuel for that, but we can't seem to get it from our local refineries. And I don't know why, and we can't get answers why. I do know we have 2 refineries just south of us. I do know that they went through a Category 4 hurricane also, and I do know they may have their own challenges. But at some point, we need to find out why they are not pumping fuel to our distributors so we can get them here into people that are even in more critical need than we are. And we just can't seem to find those answers. And if we can't get it from those refineries, why aren't 100 trucks from Texas not heading this way from those refineries or other refineries? So this is, and listen, our Ascension Parish Office of Emergency Preparedness are following the right protocols. We have been working through the Web EOC, the Office of Emergency Preparedness, and we've been working through GOSEP. It just seems like this is the frustrating part of getting answers. We can accept difficult answers, okay? We can accept some challenges, but we just don't know why this is happening. I've been through many, many hurricanes. I've worked all of them since Hurricane Andrew to now. I don't recall this being such a challenge. I do realize we lost one of our refineries in Convent that has shut down, but I do know that within an hour's distance from here, and this is the southern part of Louisiana where we have fuel, we just can't seem to get it here or get it to other places. So I don't know the answers, and that's why I'm reaching out to you, the media, and maybe you can put this story out there, and maybe some answers will be forthcoming. I can't thank our state representatives and our senators for being here, and Parish President Clint Quintmore for being here, because we all share the same concern. Why is fuel not flowing to our parishes when we have what we think is abundance of it? And then I do know they're not pumping it, but I don't know why. You know, is it the reason because they have so many protocols that they have to follow to get up and running? But under an emergency situation, I'm not saying bypass all protocols, but get up and running as soon as you can and get fuel delivered to our parishes and certainly to the southern parishes that has taken the brunt of this storm. And with that said, I wanted to thank all of our deputies at the Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office. I want to thank all of our governmental entities working together. This group of men behind us, we're together every day in our unified command briefings. So we know how to do this. We know how to prepare for this. We know how to get through it. And we're usually ready for the crisis afterwards. I know the parish president will be wanting soon probably to open up a point of distribution. Because here's what's going to happen. If we run out of fuel, and I'm not saying we will, we're fighting hard not to. How do you get to a point of distribution? How do you get to the tarps? How do you get to the water? How do you get to the meals ready to eat? If you have hundreds and hundreds of generators in our parish, and if they don't have fuel, what does that mean? There could be some hot summer days still ahead of us. We won't let that happen. So we're starting today, at least just to get the information out there that we need fuel. We think we'll get it. We think we'll get the answers we need, and we're just hoping our refineries south of us will start pumping that fuel. If not, let's have contingencies to get fuel elsewhere. We're in pretty good shape now, so we think this press conference is going to keep us from going into a real crisis mode when we run out of fuel. I heard today we just got a blip from one of the media that Hammond might be out of fuel. Well, we're trying not to be in that, get in that shape, and we're just going to get that information out there now. And let me reassure the folks of Ascension Parish that we will do whatever it takes for us not to be in that dire situation where there's no fuel here. But that's why I appreciate you so much for helping us get that information out there and getting this story told and maybe avoiding a further crisis. So I'd like to turn it over now to Parish President Clint Whitmore, who's been working diligently with me every day to make sure this parish is in the best shape it can be. It's his first major hurricane as parish president. I want to commend him and his staff for the work that they're doing and working with us through the Unified Command, and the parish council and all of our mayors have worked really closely together, along with our representatives and senators, to do the job that the people of Ascension Parish elected us to do. So, Parish President, I'd like to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Sheriff. I want to start a little bit talking about a little what we did pre-storm and how we've gotten where we are today. So I want to send a big shout out to our pumping crews and our DPW and drainage crews. We had 8.3 inches of rain at the Gonzales Airport. We had about 7 inches of rain at Port Vincent. We had one flooded structure, and that was a chronic flooding structure in Sorrento. We had no new flooding structures. So a big shout out to what our pumping crews, led by Arthur Scheck-Snyder and our DPW Ron Savoy, getting us where we are today, not having to deal with not only power outages, but not having to deal with flooding on top of that. So that has gotten us where we are, starting Monday morning with our cut and push crews, our DPW crews, along with the sheriff's crews, attacked that problem and very aggressively opened up our road system and transportation. They're finishing up a lot of that today. And so they have been very aggressive with that. We're on our path to recovery, but here we are with a situation that has not happened in my recent memory. Okay, two parts to us, Ascension Parish getting back on its feet, so then we can then turn our eyes south to our helping our neighbors, is getting electricity back up. In the meantime, we have a lot of residents at home that are going to be running out of gas with their generators. Hot days, no power. We have a lot of residents on oxygen, which those generators are feeding that oxygen to them. So we're hopefully won't get there, but when you look at the lines at the gas stations around Ascension Parish and around this area, Livingston, Baton Rouge, and what's the information that Sheriff spoke about coming out of Hammond, obviously we have concerns. In 16 was a different scenario. We had the gas, but a lot of our gas stations did not have the electricity. We have solved that problem with putting generators at each of our gas stations to ensure that that problem didn't happen. And so what we're doing is, in order for us to get back on our feet and turn our attention to our neighbors to the south and provide that help, we need fuel. It's important we get it, and we get it soon. And you know, we're working and conversating with a lot of our elected officials, many of us behind us, the Speaker and Representative Bacala and Senator. That message is getting out, working to ensure that the fuel's out there somewhere. Okay, this nation's not out of fuel, but we need to get it to the critically hit area of this southeastern region in order to ensure that we can get back on our feet and we don't have a situation where this turns into a very critical situation, because we're not there yet, but we need to be proactive to ensure that that doesn't happen. So we're going to continue to work and communicate. We just want to ensure that we get the message out that this is a critical component. And like the Sheriff spoke of, if Ascension Parish is going to be that critical stopping point to provide that relief to the south, we need to make sure that we have everything we need to be up and running to provide that service to our neighbors to the south and our southern parishes. So I'd like to turn it over to the Speaker, Clay Scheck-Snyder, and he can touch on base on what's going on at the state level. Clay.
Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, Parish President Quintmo and my colleagues, Senator Lambert and Bacala in the back. Listen, This is nothing new for our state. It's nothing new for our parish. It's nothing new for my District 81, which encompasses Livingston, Ascension, St. James, and St. John the Parish. We're in a critical time right now where we can either give up or stand here and do nothing, or we can move forward with trying to get things better. Running out of fuel or being low on fuel is a very, very dangerous place for us to be. I say that in the fact that right now, with the COVID pandemic going on and the things that we have going on out there, most of these people that's been hit by the storm are living and surviving off of generators that survive off of fuel. I've just traveled most of my district just now, and rescue, first responders, firemen, police officers are all struggling to get to people to help them and get them in their homes and make sure that they're safe. Homes are opened up to the heat. A lot of elderly people are out there struggling right now. We need to make sure that the refineries, as well as the trucking industry, has a path to be able to bring fuel in here to us. I think between all of us up here that represent this area and represent the state of Louisiana, we can do that. But we have to get answers on why are we not being able to get some of these fuels, and why can't we get a more clear and upfront answer on this. This is something that no other state had to deal with so far that I know of, but when we look at how resilient our people are and how resilient our law enforcement and our parish officials are, our fire departments, we will get through this. This is something that we will get through. I can tell you, between all of us up here, we will work as hard as we can to find answers to make sure that we know when the fuel is going to be here, how it's going to get here, and we'll move forward from there to help protect constituents out there. So with that, I'll turn it over to Senator Eddie Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just had an opportunity, took a phone call from the Chemical Association, and part of the problem is the refineries to the south of us, especially Valero as well as Marathon, have had, of course, as everybody else, had interruption from power. They do not have power, and you need that to run those refineries. That is part of the problem we're having. I've also talked to the President of the Chemical Association, has indicated to me that they are now starting to make adjustments. Hopefully we will be getting some fuel. I think you may have to start looking from out of state, out of this region, to maybe having it started shipped in. We're going to talk to Homeland Security and try to, make them aware of the situation we're having, because this parish, as well as Livingston, St. James, have been devastated. There's no power at all, hardly, in St. James. I was down there yesterday, and all along 3125, just about every power line is snapped. It's like total devastation. And then when you get down further, and you're going to be in St. Charles, where some of the refineries are, where Shell is also, that they're having problems with electrical service, which needs that to generate, as well as feedstocks. But they are aware of the situation, and hopefully we will have that addressed shortly.
Thank you all for coming today. It's an important issue. If you think about, all of us woke up the morning after the hurricane and everything was gone. We had, no cell phones, no internet. The roads, if you went out and tried to go anywhere, the roads were blocked with trees, with telephone poles, with power lines. We had no electricity anywhere in the parish. Everything's getting better. Everything's getting better. Right now, the telephones are back. We have cell phone service again. Right now in Ascension Parish, there probably aren't one or two obstructions to a highway. Thank you to the crews with the Sheriff's Office and parish government who made that happen. Everything's improving. But I started this with a full tank of gas, and now I'm down to a half. The one place that we're getting worse as days go by is in terms of fuel. Everything else is improving, except for this gasoline crisis that we're in. Now, we know that things aren't easily fixed. Damage is done, electricity's off perhaps to a plant, but we need to recognize in every aspect of getting our life back to normal, things are improving. More stores are opening to get supplies. again, communication, travel, everything is improving, except we're going downhill fast in terms of fuel. I don't know what the problem is. I hope we find out what the problem is and fix it. We cannot continue to go down and down, or we're going to be facing a second crisis that may be worse than the hurricane itself. So we need to find out what is the problem and make sure that we start improving in the aspect of the fuel crisis instead of continuing to go into decline. Again, I think it was aptly said by our parish president, our senators, our representatives, our sheriff. We're going to get through this. We will. But we just need to make sure that we're addressing every single of those critical infrastructure issues. And fuel right now is it. We need to fix it. Thank you.
We'll take some questions.
Whoever wants to answer this, I know everyone keeps saying we're not there yet, and I don't know if you want to say because it might scare people. If y'all don't get gas, how many more days are we looking at?
Well, you heard me mention that we just got our last load dropped off to our 911 center of fuel. We're going to go for 48 hours on that fuel, so that's not critical right now. We know we will get fuel before that point. The question we had, and we have stations that still have fuel in them. What we don't have is any more trucks that are able to leave and come deliver more fuel right now. We have one station that's dedicated to just first responders. So we feel that we're going to go for several days with fuel. But talking today about it will hopefully we'll avoid that crisis. And listen, I know some of these refineries, they live by protocols. So and it's not whether or not we know exactly what's going on there. Just give us answers. So Senator Eddie Lambert was quickly able to get some answers. It might not be the answer that we wanted to hear, but we also know there's contingencies. If you can't get it from here, let's get it from there. And we know they probably went into their storm with contingencies. If this happens, let's do this. If that happens, let's do this. And I know they do that. I bet you when Houston went down during their hurricanes, they probably pumped fuel from here to Houston. So is fuel going to come from Houston to us? It just makes sense that would happen. And again, I'm not trying to be critical of anyone, but when you're going into a Cat 4 hurricane, you have a tremendous amount of contingencies you have to look at, and we were just not able to get answers. Answers help because then we can make plans or other plans when we get the answers that even the ones we don't want to hear. So no, we do not want to panic Ascension Parish or anybody here. We feel we're going to be fine. And we decided today, and these group of men behind me, when I called them, I said, listen, let's do this today and let's do it now. Let's not do it 48 hours from now when it's a critical issue. We think that we can avoid it by voicing our opinion now, voicing our concerns. Tony Bacala said it well. The representative said it well. Everything is improving. Things are getting better. We don't see that same improvement on fuel deliveries and there's hundreds of trucks that are empty. You go to Lamar-Dixon, there's fuel trucks that are empty. That should not be the case. Those trucks should be full, and they should be going back and forth to all of our parishes. We don't know why that's not happening. All the other critical infrastructures seem to be improving, and that's because of a lot of hard work, a lot of good contingency plans, and we hope we get there. I guarantee you that after this briefing, we're going to start getting phone calls as to what's going on, and maybe they already have contingency plans. We'd just like to know what are they? What are they? Keep us local officials informed so we can tell our citizens that help is on the way. So it might be a long answer to that question, but we feel that we're going to be fine, but we just wanted to get that information out early. If anybody wanted to add to that.
I just want to add one thing, and it's not directly on point, but if you drive around today, Coca-Colas, they're selling cigarettes. What they're not selling is fuel. So we don't have a situation where the store can't open to sell fuel. They are open. They're not selling fuel because they don't have it to sell. So there's a breakdown in the distribution chain, and it's not an issue of the retailer not being able to having the ability to sell it. They just don't have anything to sell. So that's just, if you drive around right now, it's not hard to find a station that's open. They're just not open and selling fuel.
So you only just asking for better communication?
Well, and listen, these are things that we work on. We have things that we have unified command set up where all the governmental agencies work together on a daily basis. We've had a emergency operations center open since before the storm where there's emergency support functions that should help each other, and it works wonderfully on a local level, and it works really good on the state level working with GOSEP. All these have been developed over the years. Sometimes there's a glitch, and we don't know why there is a glitch with communications right now when it's coming to fuel. And, now I will tell you this. Those refineries had to face a Category 4 hurricane just like we did, and they do probably have some tremendous challenges, and that's okay. Just let us know what those challenges are and tell us what your contingency plans are and how we can help avoid the situation, or what contingencies can we make to help you get us fuel to Ascension Parish. We have some processes in place that we are very, very proud of, and the result is, like Representative Bacala said, things are getting better every day. And that's what happens when you have good communications and good processes and a unified command working together. We don't know why we're not getting the answer that we needed to get when it comes to fuel. And it's not just Ascension Parish. The parishes south of us, east and west of us, they have the same challenges and concerns that we have. So, and listen, that's why the media helps sometimes, and no doubt, and that's why we're glad you was able to come down here and share their story with us, and I do think that we are going to start getting some answers. These gentlemen behind me have already started making phone calls when I called them. They weren't completely aware of all the challenges we've been having, so when I called them today, they've been on the phones all working it, so I think we'll get it resolved. But we're getting it resolved now, so we won't have a major crisis in a few days when we can't get our hands on fuel. It'll come. Yes, sir.
Can I briefly just touch base or add to that comment? So I'm going to give you a perfect example. So we had a gas company reach out to us today, and they needed to fuel their trucks in order to fix their lines because they were running out of fuel. Parish government, in order for our operations to continue without a dedicated fuel line coming in to refuel our operations, we could not guarantee them that fuel. And so this has a ripple effect. And it's critical that we understand that if your plan A didn't work, well, what is plan B? And is plan B being activated right now? So that when parish government or sheriff's department, when we get together, we plan for this, we have several plans and we have contingencies. When those first plan A's don't go right, we go into plan B. And if that doesn't go right, we go into plan C. We have redundancies and we have solutions for anything that may happen here. What we don't know is we got a problem, but we don't know what the contingencies are and where that fuel's coming from. And so we need to know that that fuel's on its way. And so this has a great ripple effect if that chain or supply is interrupted. So
you talked about that ripple effect. Obviously, gas is a big thing for people who are trying to run generators to have power to their house. About how many people in the parish are still without power?
So I know that energy yesterday, as well as our operations, were in to figure out exactly how much damage occurred, and we saw a lot of energy and DEMCO around the entire parish, certainly getting lines out of the road in order to first take out those dangerous situations where we got live wires that people may come in contact with. That's first priority. Second priority is getting electricity back up and running for our neighbors. I can't give you specific numbers. What I was told is they're going to make significant headway today. And it's been a beautiful day. It's been very sunny and it's very active. Obviously, there is a little issue with us getting around due to the fact that a lot of our traffic signals don't have electricity. And so it's important that we look at those situations. It doesn't take long for an accident that may occur at some of these intersections. And with long lines at gas stations backing up traffic, that has been an issue as well. But I know that DEMCO, I'll give you a perfect example from numbers, they have 113,000 customers, 100,000 were without power as of Monday morning. So we hope to get an update on that. I don't have that specific number for you as of right now.
Obviously, you're the parish president, wasn't the parish president in 2016, but seeing something like this happen again, not to the magnitude of 2016, but I mean, what do you say to the residents of your parish to give them the reassurance that we're working around the clock to make sure that you guys are safe and you guys are running with the need?
I'm just going to reiterate what Representative Bacala said. Everything is getting better. We have this one little catch here with our gasoline supply chain that has been interrupted. Everything has gotten better. We have been very aggressive in getting our parish and the people of our parish back on their feet. but we can't let this one thing put us into a critical situation that does not need to occur. So we're in a very good position if we can get this fuel here, and we can get back on our feet, get people power back to people. We have contingencies for some of our medical residents who need oxygen. We have the fire department is stepped up, providing some of those solutions for those residents. But again, when you start talking about running out of fuel, and not just one or two generators going out, but a mass of generators, then we have a very deep concern for a lot of our elderly citizens, and we cannot get to that critical level.
Okay, I got a question for the sheriff, and I got a question for the state representative. Nancy, do you have any statistics? How many gas stations you have? How many are out of gas? How many are still giving out gas? Do you have anything like that?
We do have an active list in our 911 center. I don't know if I could tell you, they're open and shutting on a regular basis once they're running out of gas, or if there was a last delivery sometime today, they're opening back up. I would tend to say that there's probably 10 to 15 gas stations on the east side that's selling gas still. It doesn't take long to find one of them because you look for the long lines and then you'll find it. There's only one on the West Bank in Donaldsonville with gas. And just to reiterate, that they're 100% without electricity there. And it's not just gas that we're talking about here, it's also diesel. You realize that if the hospitals are not on power, they're running huge generators with diesel, so our nursing homes. So we have to get gas and diesel. They're in good shape now, and some of those critical infrastructures are coming back with power, but that's what we have to worry about also, is diesel and gas. So probably 12 to 15 stations that are actively open, Representative Bacala said this, many of the gas stations that open are not selling gas, they're selling other items. So
So when I say open, I mean
actually selling fuel, probably 12 to 15, I would believe.
Is that like a percentage you can give me? How many?
As a percentage?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a very low percentage. There's a gas station on almost every corner of Ascension Parish, right? But so Clint mentioned something. He mentioned 16. Hurricane Katrina really changed the game. After that, it was almost mandated by the state of Louisiana that all the gas stations along the I-10 and I-12 corridors have a generator. Then that mandate was taken away, and we just encourage all the stations along the interstates to have generators, so when you're doing contraflow out of a large city, that you can have gas along the way. So some of those stations did put in generators, and the ones that did, we were very thankful for. And after the flood of 16, more of our stations installed generators, which is a great help. So Katrina really changed the game, and we've really gotten better at preparing for these things. We've really gotten better at our contingency plans. But it's just, this one befuddles us as to why we're having problem getting fuel in southern part of Louisiana. So I know you had a question for someone else.
Yes, whoever wants to answer this. I know all of y'all represent different districts, different parishes. For the people that you represent that aren't in Ascension, why are you speaking up for Ascension today? Are you going to speak up for your other parishes? They might be out of fuel. They might be wondering why you're not talking to them.
Well, I don't think any of them, us as far as elected officials for the state, aren't speaking for all of them. I can tell you that Sheriff Weber gave us a call and asked us would we come and speak about it. It was something that he was concerned about, so it's concerning to us. And I just left Livingston Parish. I'm on my way now to St. John and St. James, and I can tell you, if there's a press conference there, I will be speaking up for them just as much as I am for these. And look, all of the Southeast that was impacted by the storm, look, we're not just speaking for us. I know the sheriff relies a lot on other deputies when things come in. When the 2016 flood happened, we all came together. We all worked together to get things done, and that's what we do in South Louisiana. It isn't about just Ascension speaking up. It's about all of us coming together and getting through this. And I think the same thing will happen with fuel getting in here. I think there's a reason that, there's a fuel lag, whether it's power, whether it's anything else, materials to do it. But I think the South and the country will come together. I think we'll get that fuel in here. And I know all of us up here will work hard to make sure that happens. Yeah. Yes, sir.
I have a question. What is the state told? Those that usually coordinate all these sort of things. What are they telling you?
I think that's where we need to go as GOSEP to see what the answers are, because, realistically, we are less than 48 hours after the storm. You have massive power outages. The refineries that are in this area are not up and running because of power. You look at down and south of here, I mean, it's total destruction to the power grid. I think what we need to be working on is getting fuel from other places that were not damaged, and that's basically going to be from the west, from the like Houston area, so Lake Charles. Well, let me tell you, the communications is so bad that most of the time I cannot get a phone call or a cell call. It is just now getting better. I was in Pierreport dealing with some of the stuff I have down there, you know, cutting trees with neighbors yesterday. The communication is just now coming up, and depending upon where you are is whether you can talk to somebody. I was able, luckily, to get a hold of the president of the Chemical Association. Yes, and basically, and I knew that Valero's down. I know that Marathon's down. I'm sure Shell is down. And more than likely, Exxon is down. It's going to take a little while.
1.5 million barrels of crude production.
I can't hear.
1.5 million barrels of crude production is down right now in Southeast Louisiana.
1.5 million?
Million. And that's the only one that we know that's up is ExxonMobil.
Is it in Baton Rouge running? It's back and running in Baton Rouge? That's what it...
Started is back up yesterday.
All right. Well, I mean, it's going to take a little while. I mean, we're less than 48 hours after this, and look, it's a crisis. It's something we need to prepare for in the future, that maybe you need to have it stockpiled. Let's hope that the power comes on in some of these surrounding areas quicker, that we don't have to use generators.
Just one more question. Have you floated the idea of running gas from Lake Charles to Houston? I mean, is that
I think as a result of this press conference, that's going to happen, because my next call is going to be to the governor or Homeland Security and saying, where are we on this, if I can get through to them.
Is that a feasible thing? That's what I'm asking y'all.
I think it is. I mean, you know, you may be looking at a delay of 24 hours, but I mean, hopefully we can all hold on for another 24 hours. I think once you start, like the sheriff said, once you get past 48 hours, it becomes critical. Hopefully power in these areas where Ascension is, in the areas that are not hit as hard, I know it's coming on in places, will start happening, and that eases the burden on the generators.
Sheriff, real quick, can you talk about if this is putting a strain on your deputies having to be at these gas stations?
Well, certainly, our deputies have been strained since before the hurricane, but this is what we do. We doubled our shifts. All the deputies' leaves are been canceled. There's no days off, so we are 100% working as far as all of our commissioned deputy sheriffs. So we've been doing this now for a while, and we will continue to do it. And guess what we're going to do? As soon as we get back on grid with electricity, and we solve this fuel crisis, we're going to go down south, and we're going to help our neighbors down south. So this is what we do. And well, we run in rotations, and yeah, so you know, you do risk management, right? So where's the biggest risk? The biggest risk for us right now during the day is at these gas stations where there are long lines, there's no electricity, all the signal, the traffic signals are out, and it's challenging. So we are actually directing traffic around some of these stations, and hopefully talking to our motorists and telling them to be patient, be calm, because the wait is long. We've even had some run out while they're in the line, and we pushing the car into the parking lot. So it is challenging, but they're doing well. Our deputies are doing fine, and they're serving Ascension Parish well. David, to speak more of your question, GOSEP is doing a phenomenal job. We've had put together this process many years ago where your local EOC works with GOSEP on a daily basis, and we work through a program called Web EOC where we make the request. So I know I've been talking with our local Emergency Operations Center. They have put in the request to GOSEP, and GOSEP is trying to get us the information as fast as they can, but sometimes they can't get that information to feed back to us, and that is the frustrating part. They're not hearing what they needed to hear, and therefore they can't push that information back down to us. But that process generally works very, very well. I know Parish President has been talking with us today about opening up a point of distribution. Those things are massive to run when you tell people you can go to a certain spot to pick up whether it's tarps, whether it's food, whether it's water. That will become critical as the days go by, and we're talking about opening one up at Lamar-Dixon, which will be announced later. And that's going to tax some of our deputies, but we'll be out there helping the parish government run that along with the National Guard. But you want people to be able to get there, right? And so, but I think by solving this fuel crisis, and we will, this is going to help us do it. And these men behind us are already making phone calls to help us solve it, and we'll get through it, and we'll be just fine. We just didn't want to wait 48 hours from now to call this press conference. And to give credit to my sheriffs down south and Speaker of the House Clay Shakes now, those sheriffs got way more on their hands to deal with right now than calling an emergency press conference. I'm a sheriff to where I might be on that line of being in pretty good shape to where we can become the staging point to help all of our sheriffs south of us. They've got their hands full. So Clay's representing them well. I know he's going down to see Sheriff Trigg, my good friend in St. John, who took a beating down there, and he'll be leaving here to do that. So it's one for all for one, and we'll help one another. And just like y'all helping us get this information out, it takes the team to do it, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, so 2 points. One, we want to make sure that, this is not just bringing attention to a potential crisis, but also communicating with our residents. We need all of our residents to know they're sitting in these long lines. They're wondering what's going on. So this is a critical part, not only in pointing out something that we don't want to get to a critical stage, but also communicating with our residents as well, and I appreciate y'all helping us do that. Second point is, if we are, as David said, 1.5 million barrels down.
That's crude production.
Crude production.
All this stuff, gas.
Okay, so we've been dealing with storms since before I was born, so what's the contingency for that? And maybe it's out there, I don't know, but there should be. And so we need to figure out what that is. I know that the sheriff and we always do a post-storm review. What can we do better? And so if there's not a contingency for that, certainly needs to be one in place. So cannot allow these things to happen like this. Storms are what we do. That's what we know. COVID, on the other hand, we had the right to playbook from page 1. But storms are what we do and it's how we're handled. So we need to know what these contingencies are. And look, I'll take part of the blame. I'm not asking what the contingencies are. I never anticipated. I've never had this happen before. So obviously that it has. Now we're going to need to know what contingencies will be put in place in the future to ensure that this doesn't happen again.